Hello and welcome to Oakville Matters. This is a program thanks to your TV, otherwise known as Kojiko, that allows us to chat with you about what matters to Oakville. And surely our economic development, health and prosperity, and jobs matter a lot to everybody. So joining us today to talk about that are Doug Sams and Milan Bowie. Milan is a year and a half into her new career with Oakville Economic Development, and we'll ask her in a minute how she got here. And Doug, at 8 years of service as the executive director of the Kerr Street BIA, he's now the dean of the BIA leaders in our town. Doug and Milan, thank you very much for making time today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
For having us.
So Milan, I did tease about how you got here, and people may wonder, young people could watch and they may wonder, well, so how do I get a nice job like Milan? Where did you get here?
So I started my career in Oakville actually at the downtown Oakville BIA, where I was for about 5 years in different capacities. So I've been working with Doug for quite some time and Mayor Burton. And so that was a great avenue to take me into this new role at the town where I work in the economic development department. Looking at the other side of business in Oakville, medium and large size businesses, going from primarily working with small businesses at the downtown Oakville BIA. But it's been a great journey, and I love being in Oakville and supporting the community in any way I can. So it's been a great learning experience for me.
And the BIA job, was that sort of an entry-level job for you back when you started?
I started at the BIA as an intern. So initially it was, and through that I moved my way into the marketing department. And when I left the BIA, I was the marketing manager. So dealing with the social media accounts for the BIA, running the website, the overarching marketing strategy, which has helped me in this role because I do primarily research and marketing for the economic development department.
So there you go, kids. All you need to do is start somewhere, and you will rise to your level of ability. Now, Doug, I'm sure that you would vouch for that too, but let's turn to the economic development success story of our town. I mean, we've been through 2.5 years of COVID, and there's a lot going on, a lot of disturbance in the world economy, and yet we're cooking along pretty good here. At the Kerr Street level, do you have any new businesses to boast about? Because I know Milan's got quite a few.
We've had a number of new businesses start up during the pandemic, which the worry was, are we going to have a lot of vacancies? Are a lot of businesses going to shutter? Pleasantly surprised that did not happen. We did have some people take some early retirement, but other unique businesses came in, like the Dove and Arrow, some boutique shops. Anytime it seemed like whenever one business would close, another one would step right in and fill this space. So that's kind of been a pleasant surprise. And the other thing, when you look at our vacancy rate, it's actually maintained at the level it was before the pandemic started. And that was a pleasant surprise. But I gotta give credit to the town of Oakville, to you, Mr. Mayor, we've always had a strong relationship with our economic development department. But when the pandemic started, we had the Mayor's Economic Task Force, and which then after that morphed into resiliency and recovery. And because of those measures and working together, I really think it helped ease the anxiety we were all feeling. It still gave people an avenue to go into the downtown business or any business in Oakville and at least get some type of service, be it a restaurant, a specialty shop. You talk about merchants that adapted, that the people had compassion for. All that stuff took place because of the measures that were put in place. It's been a long road, but we still have a ways to go. We still have work to do. That's what people shouldn't lose sight of, but it made the process, I won't call it an ordeal, but it has seemed like an ordeal a little bit for the last 2 years.
Oh, I think everybody in town feels like we've been tested by this bizarre, enemy from Mars, a virus nobody'd ever heard of or imagined could happen, where it strikes randomly. Some people, you get it, don't notice it. Some people get it and die. And what's a worse enemy than an enemy that has a totally random impact? So Kerr Street and the other BIAs have long been kind of an incubator for new businesses. And in Oakville, Milan, we have kind of a pyramid of businesses, a big base of little businesses building up to a few at the top with a really huge economic impact. Ford, for example, is our biggest employer with thousands of employees. And Doug, that vacancy rate on Kerr Street, without a little bit of vacancy rate on Kerr Street, we wouldn't have room for incubating new businesses. But I do like to keep track of how good or bad the vacancy rate is. What is your vacancy rate?
It's 4%. And we have some, everybody's looking for that. It's interesting about the vacancies. Everybody's looking for that space that's 800 to 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. So we have two spaces in particular that are larger than that. And one of them was adjusted to put in a new business right next to Morrow's Naringe. They took over a spot there at John and Kerr, and they kind of divided that space into half. It's not that we don't have vacancies, but it does we have a natural turnover. And I think that since I've been here, that natural turnover has created unique businesses that people have been attracted to, or eating establishments. So, like I say, you fear the worst during the pandemic. Nobody gives you a playbook during the pandemic and says this is what you should do. We all had to kind of put our thinking caps on and make our own playbook. But out of that has come a lot. Just as I talked to my counterparts around Ontario, it was just a pleasant surprise how many people did open businesses.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm not sure everybody knows that I have a degree in economics, and speaking for a second as an economist, 4% vacancy rate, I would regard that as tight when the mission of the area is incubation. And good news, we are bringing, with the development of the dog guide site, there is going to be a little bit of more commercial space down by the fire station. So a little bit more room to innovate and incubate. Milan, on the city level, the city that calls itself a town and acts like a village, what's the story on vacancy and startups?
So despite some of the challenges that businesses may have faced over the last 2 years, we've continued to see investment in Oakville through new company arrivals, such as Wiseacre Studios, which is a film production company that came in to transform almost 80,000 square feet of industrial space into a film studio, which Mayor Burton and I had the wonderful opportunity to tour earlier this year. And so we're finding that businesses are finding innovative ways to use space. That's just one example, but we've seen Health Pro come into some of our office space, Amazon come into some warehousing space. And in addition to that, we've seen a number of companies expand, which is always a good indicator that they like doing business in our community. So Geotab is also one of our larger employers in town. They've expanded in various areas of the business, adding almost 70 new jobs last year. So we're seeing expansion and investment in across our 4 key sectors. And of course, as we know, the pandemic has caused the office vacancy rate to increase over the last 2 years. However, we saw the first decrease in Q4 of last year, which is a positive sign, and we're continuing to see businesses that will be taking up office space invest in the community, which also indicates that the office market remains optimistic.
Yeah, it's a fascinating job that the town has. We're supposed to give permissions to allow there to be enough open office space to accommodate growth in employment, and we know from history that it kind of goes in leaps and bounds. Let's see, the builders will build some office capacity, and then the businesses will come in and occupy it. And so you get this up and down and up and down. And you have to have it that way, I guess, because when you're building a capacity, it's a year or two before it's done and people can move in. Now, how many jobs? I think in your report to council, you might have said that we added 1,000 jobs. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So we did add approximately 1,000 new jobs. And so that can be attributed to the new companies that came in and also the existing Oakville companies that expanded within our community last year.
Another thing people don't or may not be aware of is the province expects us to maintain a kind of a ratio of 2.2 residents to one job, or one job to every 2.2 residents, take your pick. And at 110,000 jobs in our town and almost 216,000 people in our town, we're probably 10,000 jobs to the good on that ratio, which means that we're job happy here. It would be, we're on the good side of that ratio is what I'm trying to say. And the credit, I think, goes to our business community, who are very resilient, very creative, and to the fine leadership of the BIAs, not just Doug, but Maureen and Adrian too. And and hats off to Maureen and Adrian who couldn't be here today. Now, we ran, to help people through the pandemic, a special program that was a bigger hit than we thought it would be, Digital Main Street. And it was also a big hit. There's a lot of fans on council of Digital Main Street. So council asked you last week, are we going to do it again? And you said maybe. You gave them a definite maybe. Is there any news to report on that?
There is. So we will be expanding the Digital Main Street program in Oakville for another 2 years, which is very exciting for our small business community who the program services. And so, since the program launched in 2019, it's assisted more than 450 small businesses. So we're hoping to increase that number and meet some of the new businesses that we may not have had an opportunity to work with before. And as we discussed at the council meeting, look at ways that we can take businesses who have been working with the program to allow them to take that next step in establishing their digital presence and enabling them to try things that they maybe haven't tried before to reach more customers and increase sales even further. So we're really excited that the program's able to expand for another 2 years, and we're really looking forward to continuing to work with our small business community.
Well, you speak for me as well. Doug, I have a testimonial from a small business operator in Oakville. I'm not going to reveal whether it was your BIA or one of the other two, but I'm going to ask you if you have a testimonial or two to top this one. This lady told me that thanks to Digital Main Street through COVID, she increased her business by 20% rather than suffering a downturn. And stories like that really made Digital Main Street catch on with everybody else, because everybody wanted some of that magic. And so what have you heard from your guys, your merchant?
There was an uptick in Digital Main Street during the pandemic when it started. Thank goodness that our town had in 2019 jumped on board the initial program, because you really needed an online presence. And thanks to that, I had some merchants reach out to me, and I referred them to the Digital Main Street squad at the town. And I also recommended to them a number of businesses that I thought it would be very beneficial to them to be part of Digital Main Street. So I did some referrals. The street team contacted them, and I think it helped not just in our BIA, but in the other BIAs, it really helped the online presence. If you didn't have an online presence during the pandemic, most definitely, you're not helping yourself as much as you could have And that's a great story from the lady that told you that how much her business was up. And I've heard nothing but positive things from people in our BIA that are participating in the program. And in this day and age, you need to have an online presence.
Right, and we're extending the program because there are still a few businesses who haven't got on the internet wagon, and but we're sure that when they do, they'll be glad they did. Now, when you got the new people showing up throughout the last, the trial of all of our ingenuity that we've been through, what was it that attracted them to the Kerr Street area? What made the difference for your area? And then Milan, I'll ask you for the town as a whole.
I think Kerr Village has a uniqueness about it, has a very loyal customer following from people in Oakville. And it's kind of a smaller type business where we have some, you get that eclectic feel. We have a lot of specialty shops, a lot of good restaurants that are more, we have a handful of chain restaurants, but most of them are specialty restaurants that have a unique kind of food. And we have a lot of ethnic different food groups. And we have everything from vegan to Thai to Chinese to pizza to Italian to the fish market. We've got I think it's the diversity in the businesses that we offer. And the other thing that attracts people is our rent rates for business space are very reasonable. And I think that helps. And we can't dictate to our landlords, of course, who they put in there, but every now and then I get a call. I'll have an inquiry from somebody about a vacant space. I'll help connect them to the landlord. I'll put in a pitch to the landlord. Hey, this would really be a good addition to our business listing here. So yeah, we try to, and as we move forward, that becomes very important. Data becomes very important. Milan, I read your report about CRM. I think that's really important to get the data to help know what kind of businesses you should have, what people demographics are coming down, but it's kind of all part of the picture. And the community is as strong as its businesses, and the businesses are as strong as the community. So it all works together.
That could become a famous saying. Milan, to the top level, to the macro level, what are the attractors for Oakville? And by the way, Doug used an acronym, and I try never to let anybody do that without somebody explaining what is CRM.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So customer relationship management system is something that we introduced within the department last year to keep track of all of our interactions that we're having with businesses. We have a few areas that we're using to track in there right now with the possibility of expansion in the future, but it's been a great tool for us in terms of information sharing within the department. And in terms of what is the number one key differentiator for investment in Oakville is something that we hear all the time from businesses within the community when we're talking to different ICI realtors or our partners is Oakville's livability.
Wait, ICI, what's that?
Sorry, I should have learned. Industrial, commercial, and institutional. So those are our realtors in the community that deal with businesses when they're coming in and looking for commercial space or industrial space. We often consult with them in certain areas to understand what they're hearing from businesses who are interested in coming into the community. And we always try to foster good relationships with them. So we can know what the businesses are thinking so that when they land, we're able to service them appropriately. So that's what that acronym means. I'll try not to use another one. But the livability is just something that is always brought to the forefront, and we've really tried to lean into that with our initiatives throughout the last year. We recently launched a Where Living Works campaign, where we consulted these same groups within the community, and we got that same answer back. So we thought, let's run with that and use that as the piece for our investment attraction campaign to try and get some of these companies to come and invest in Oakville's office market. So it was a wonderful campaign which we shared with council, and it really leaned into the abundant parklands, established neighborhoods, and acclaimed schools that Oakville has to offer those who choose to live and work here.
Right. So Where Living Works was your thematic that's the name of the theme of your campaign to recruit, I guess, is what we come away with. Now, at a macro level, one of the most interesting things in your report is that on the industrial side, our vacant space ratio it's like 0.5% or 0.6%, which is to say we're underbuilt for industry. That would be warehouses to car plants. And I say car plants because wouldn't it be great to have another car plant? If one is wonderful, and it is, wouldn't two be even more wonderful? Now, but on the office side, which is one of our major growth targets, it looks like we do have room to grow because as a result of office completions, we're at 21% vacancy there, Milan. So does that mean that when you get calls from industries looking for spaces, you have to say, gee, I'd like to help you out? And when you get calls from offices looking to relocate, you get to say, have I got space to show you? I mean, how does this work out?
So Oakville's office market has definitely seen a steady increase in the vacancy rate over the last 2 years. However, we're not necessarily way over and above where we typically hover around. The only difference is that we've seen the continuous increase over the last 2 years. So we do have lots of office space to share with potential investors when they come in. And having variety isn't necessarily a bad thing because we're often able to help them find exactly what they need. On the industrial side, it has been a bit of a challenge when we have such a low vacancy rate and availability rate. But we have still seen industrial space become leased over the last year with Wiseacre, for example. And them transforming that space into a film studio, which we haven't seen many times before in Oakville. So it's identifying those opportunities of where potential investment can land, and really looking at the space that is available and trying to find innovative solutions to service the investment inquiries that are coming through.
Yeah, some proportions might help our viewers here. We've got 18.5 million square feet of industrial space, and I guess 4.5 million of office space. And so, the backstory here is council and I and the staff are trying to grow our office jobs, and we're trying to grow our office inventory, if you will, to make that possible. And in your report, one of the things that really stood out for me was that the average net rental rate on the industrial side was only $12.50, and the average lease rate for offices was less than $20. And so I'm pretty sure that's incredibly competitive with, say, Toronto, Mississauga.
Yes, yes, our rates are, from a cost comparative perspective, in the commercial market, we are in the top 5. So we benchmark ourselves around against 17 GTA municipalities. So that includes Toronto, Mississauga, some of our neighbors here, Burlington, and those areas. So we rank very competitively in commercial. Industrial is slightly less, although the demand is still remaining high, even though our net rental rate is increasing year over year. We're still seeing that demand remain extremely high, which is a positive is a positive for Oakville, and that companies will continue to want to invest in the
Well,
industrial
look,
market.
when you have a vacancy rate of less than 1%, as an economist, I gotta say, you should expect the rent to go up as scarcity drives prices up. That's true in everything, including the housing market. So, Doug, in the year ahead, what special plans do you have at the Kerr Street BIA to make life more exciting and successful for your businesses? I ask because last year you had some phenomenal community events that really packed the people in, and it didn't used to be like that in the Kerr Street area, did it?
No, it didn't. When I first came here, everybody told me, if you know your history of Kerr Street, they said about 10 years before that, it's gotten progressively better. It wasn't the most attractive place to be, but now it is. We have great neighborhoods on both sides of us. We have evolved, and the businesses that have come in have really kind of helped the area get the word out, have helped the area improve and grow. And so we started a number of events because we found when we do our events, or we do, and other things have helped. The patio program has helped. Taste of Oakville has helped. But we always try to do two or three good events a year. And we found out through our surveys that if we get somebody to come and visit Kerr Village, there's an 80% chance that we were told that they would return when we asked that question, would you come back? 80% of them said yes. So we had our Christmas tree lighting last December, the first weekend in December. We had 11,000 people there over 2 days. It was very well received. We won an award at the provincial level through the Ontario BIA Improvement Association, Area Improvement Association, for best large event and promotion. So, and it was, I'm sure it was, we hit it just right. We were coming kind of struggling to get out of the pandemic. We had an event, people were looking for something to do, and it was like a culmination of a perfect storm. But by doing those things, we've educated people about Kerr Village in our area, and they've seen the improvements. And again, we've had a loyal customer base that has grown in the time that I've been here.
Well done. And that's our time. Thanks for being with us. Watch us next time on Oakville Matters.